Aloha and welcome to joining us at The Art of Life. I am your host, Willow Chang Alion. Our show broadcasts every Friday from 2 to 3. The joy of live TV is sometimes we have to deal with some technical matters. We're so glad that you decided to stay with us. Today, we have a fabulous guest. She's in her shaded glory because she had her eye worked on, but we're so glad that she's a warrior and she showed up. Darlene Mandel in the house. If you don't know
Hello.
Darlene, then you might have been living under a rock and not on a rock. But we're going to find out a lot more about Darlene. She is a designer. She sells vintage clothing and all kinds of good things. And in journalistic integrity, I'd like you to know, I'm proud to say that I've known Darlene for over 20 years, and I'm simply thrilled to have her on our show today. So Darlene, welcome.
Thank you, Willow. I'm so excited to be here.
I can feel the love.
Yeah.
So, Darlene, I want to say that from my understanding, you're the person that I associate with when I think of vintage clothing. And I used to go to different vintage haunts in Kailua when I was a teenager, treasured memories being one of them. But the thing that's different is that you're still here. You're still here.
I'm a survivor.
You are. You are the Keith Richards of vintage, and that's,
wow.
That's a compliment.
It sure is.
It really is.
Oh, yeah, I love him.
He's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, you have had many lives selling different types of vintage clothes and repurposing and refashioning and re-envisioning things from something maybe that might have been broken or needed love or doctoring, and it evolves into something completely new, very much like a butterfly.
Yes.
Way before eBay, before Antiques Roadshow, before Pawn Stars, before Martha Stewart went into the really big do-it-yourself, before Etsy.
Right.
Okay, are you getting what we're at? Before it was even chic to get involved. I think of you, I think of Cyndi Lauper, and I think
I was just thinking of her.
I think of my dear old mom who would take us to Goodwill, which was considered nothing short of a cardinal sin growing up in Manoa Valley. And I'll never forget one day going into Goodwill with my mom, because this was normal. This was in the early 80s. And some kids walking to Manoa Rec Center saw us going into the Goodwill. And my God, it was nothing short of a social death the following day, because it was like, oh my God, you've got ukus. What if somebody died in those clothes? It's stinky. Are you wearing used clothing? And we never thought anything of it. We thought it was like the coolest thing. It was always an adventure. How did you start your love and affinity for things vintage?
Well, actually, it was my grandmother. Because she was a very cool lady, and I was her first grandchild, and so from the time I was born, she was always dressing me up. And she was a clothes horse and a jewelry queen, and she was an elegant lady. Harriet was her name, and she pretty much started me on it. But Willow, I have a Goodwill story to tell you.
Oh my God.
It was my first Goodwill story, and it's real interesting since you mentioned it. My love for vintage actually started back in the 60s.
Okay.
With Janis Joplin and Grace Slick.
Jimi Hendrix with
Jimi Hendrix,
Fest.
Joni Mitchell with all her beautiful stuff, way before Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
And in my hometown in Pennsylvania, they had the best Salvation Army and Goodwill in the world. This happened to be a Salvation Army.
You're not from Scranton, are you?
No, from Erie. From Erie. And so in the day, in 1969, they had fur coats at the Goodwill and Salvation Army for $1.
My goodness.
So I found the most fabulous Victorian black sealskin coat and brought it home. And I thought, it was just the best, the coolest thing ever. Well, my mother was completely appalled, wouldn't let me bring it in the house. And the next day, she actually burned it in a fire in the backyard in our fire pit. We had a fire pit where we burned our garbage because we lived out in the country. So anyway, that didn't deter me.
What did it smell like?
Well, I wasn't there, and when I went home, I looked for my coat, and my mother told me, that she had gotten rid of it, and this is a horrible story.
You're still in speaking terms.
Oh my God, my mother is the best. She's 83, going on 50.
I love it.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Wow.
So that never deterred, mother-daughter stuff,
I have to...
And like you said, going into the Salvation Army and Goodwill was like, a cardinal sin for us too.
For all that stuff. Yeah. Now I have to say, even though my mom was my enabler, my pusher, you can choose the adjective there, about this foray into the joy of secondhand sleuthing and the hunt and the thrill of the find.
Yes.
There were times when I was a teenager, especially, when I would bring home something, the kill, and she would just shake her head and she would say, "Are you kidding me? Are you going to wear that thing?" And then she'd give me 10 reasons why she thought it was horrible. And usually it was something that reminded her of something she wore when she was young. Her ultimate diss is, "Oh, shades of the 60s. That's Yes, Mom, I'm talking about you. I remember I have a chenille, check it out, gold and black chenille quilted parka that has a little rabbit fur hood. I know it sounds like a monstrosity, but it's really cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's really, really cool. And I dragged this thing home from the Punahou Carnival, and my mother thought it was loco. However, flash forward a good 20 years or so, when I went to Switzerland, she said, "Why don't you wear that chenille parka that you bought at the Punahou Carnival?" So
they learn
you hang on to it long enough and you can use it or repurpose it.
You can.
So tell me, what are the types of things you look for when you're on the hunt? Do you just go in there open with the Zen approach of it will make itself known, or are you specific in your hunt?
Mostly the first one. I go in there and realize it'll make itself known. I've been in situations so many times where I know that the magic is there, and things that are good and old need to be passed on, and you don't find them, they find you. And there's been many, many times where I hadn't expected anything, and I've hit the mother lode. And so it's just I don't know, there's a magic behind the vintage hunt and search. And it's so true, one person's trash is another treasure. Honestly, I can't believe the stuff that people throw away or donate or can't see the beauty in. But I look for anything old, anything that I like. Yeah. If I like it, I know other people like it. If I don't like it, I usually pass on it.
You have a very excellent radar, I can say. Every time I go to your booth, it's rare when I walk away empty-handed. Very rare. It's usually because I'm broke. And you're always so affordable. So if I walk away empty-handed, it means I'm extra broke. You talked about something makes itself known. I often refer to it as the siren song. This is when you'll say, "My God, they're both totally crazy."
Yeah, they will. I know. Sorry.
Are you
surprised?
Everybody. We're wearing secondhand things. It goes with the territory. I honestly, there will be days when it's like, I really feel like I have to go to such a thrift shop. Like, I will just feel the pull, and I will try to deny it, and it's like, gosh darn it, just go. There's a reason. And you walk in and bam, it's right there. It's like, take me home. It might be some amazing Bakelite bracelet or some fabulous cocoon coat or, a vintage handbag that you just didn't know you needed that's in plum, and there it is. Do you find that that's the case? You feel the siren song, like,
all the
hello.
time, all the time, and I've learned to always listen to it. And I could get into stories and I could tell you things where I've heard voices and I've heard things calling me that were under tables, and I mean, I could really tell you, but until you experience it for yourself, and that's why I continue to do it, is because I'm always finding these hidden, thrilling treasures that are just waiting. So that's why I continue to look, the hunt and search.
I was thinking about today that song, "The Way We Were," but people often make the joke, "The way we wore little scatter pins on our jackets that our grandmother owned," right? The little scatter pins, sweater guards. You start to really learn a lot about a time and place, the people who wore the clothes. My goodness, vintage clothing has a tendency to be very tiny, which is great for little munchkins like me. But
there was no fast food back in those days. Yeah.
The sizes are small. The attention to the body. So there seems to be two big dynamics. One is architectural things, that the body is simply that clothes hanger that somehow this creation is on it, whether that's a structured shoulder pad or a nipped in waist or a full circle skirt. And then there are things that are just like exceptionally tailored. I mean, really, really tailored. Darts. Do you remember darts in clothing? I kind of miss those things. Granted, when they're done in the right places, but that's when you see things like cheongsams or pencil skirts or what have you. The celebration of the body, and people, I think, have this idea that you have to have a certain body type. But if you watch Mad Men, hello, Christina Hendricks with her, I don't even want to guess, 36, 25, 36. With several letters on the end there. I mean, va-voom.
Right.
You don't have to be a tiny person to wear vintage clothing.
No.
So I'm curious, now that I've mentioned Mad Men, do you find that there are surges of popularity and interest in vintage clothing when something popularizes it, like Mad Men, or say Pretty in Pink, or Stevie Nicks, or Courtney Love, whoever it is?
Yeah, usually, you know, even the vintage will follow a trend. You know, there for a while is very Victorian, and Stevie Nicks, like you said.
Right.
And then for a while, you know, it got more punk, you know, and more grungy, and so you could wear something that was 20 years old instead of 50 years old, you know, and so yeah, it certain things do influence. I mean, look at The Great Gatsby last year. You know, that movie was such a beautiful film, and the costumes and the jewelry, and that totally influenced the style for last holiday season and even before it, summertime. I mean, who wears real glitz and stuff like that in the summer? But The Great Gatsby made that happen.
Absolutely.
So I do think it's very trendy, and I do think popular media has a lot to do with it, yeah. I also think that the younger generation is getting more hip to it than just the people from the 60s and 70s that, you know, that was our lifestyle. We wore vintage.
Yeah.
I think that I never went to a clothing store when I was younger. I either bought vintage or made it myself, you know, and
DIY.
yeah, and so, but now it's changed. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I do think that economics plays part of that, but I think I'd like to think the return to the mana, the soul that's imbued. I do believe this type of stuff. When you wear something, there's a transference of your energy. You're imbuing your energy into that. So if you have that choker or that ID bracelet, or maybe it's your dad's, I don't know, Letterman sweater or whatever it is, and then if you're lucky to have that passed down to you, certainly that has a different feel. But I don't think it's any lesser an experience if you happen to purchase it or acquire it through different ways. You still have that energy. You still have that mana.
Oh, you
there.
do.
Absolutely.
And there's so much of it out there too. You know, you think about running out of it, or you think, oh, if I sell this piece, will I ever be able to replace it? And really the answer is yes. There's plenty for everybody. People don't throw the good stuff away. And I can only imagine the attics full of undiscovered treasures, you know, even here in Honolulu town. Just great stuff.
It's stored away.
Yeah,
Although
stored
I will
away.
say that with the lack of basements and attics, thank God we've got you, because a lot of people do give it the old toss-a-roo. So
They do.
It's a little known fact that you go on buying trips.
Yes.
And that's how you replenish your stock. And
I
lucky
do.
for us, we don't have to deal with TSA or taking off our shoes. What is your initiative? Do you just go, and I've done this many times when I go to the garment district and I buy fabric.
Yeah.
I've gone down to Chinatown and I'll buy myself a cheap $30 duffel bag.
Yeah.
You know, you just go up as empty as humanly possible and then schlep that stuff back. Do you have a system, or do you,
well, you
what
know,
works?
it's so funny because I've been in the business for so long that even that has changed so dramatically. It used to be before 9/11, you
The
could,
good old days.
oh
Those
my
were the good old
goodness,
days.
the good old days. I could go back to the East Coast, and I could pack literally 30 dish barrel boxes.
Until they were just filled to the gills.
75 pounds a piece. You could, you know, and they were like
They didn't
$30 to check in, even if you had 10 of them, you know?
Yeah.
So when you're shipping back a ton, $300 doesn't seem like too much money. And you know, I would always fly United plug because they would accommodate my 30 pieces of luggage. And believe me, they were filled up, and I would have to get a U-Haul to take me to the airport. Those were the good old days, okay? Then
dun dun dun.
9/11 happened and the whole baggage thing changed, and they started charging and not letting you take it. So I started shipping it parcel post, and that's $1 a pound. So that eliminated a lot of it. And now pretty much when I do go on my trips back east, that's how I do, is I ship it back parcel post, or I just stuff the suitcases full and pay the extra baggage.
And I'll tell you, we will have to have just a discussion on this topic, but I do believe it was United. They just announced that they're going to be charging people for what they bring on board in their carry-on. My goodness, damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Right.
So maybe this doesn't concern you, but for us artistically inclined people, that includes belly dancers, musicians, vendors, and artists, it really hurts us.
It hurts.
Extensively, and we usually don't have the kala to cover that expense. It is a hardship. I hope you're listening to us, United. You're really sticking it to us, and we don't like it one bit. We must take a break, because that's what we do here on The Art of Life and every show. But stay tuned. We have lots of cool things to share with you, and my guest is Darlene Mandel.
Hello.
I am Willow Chang, and look at this, friends. This is The Art of Life. See you soon.
I'm Jay Fidel. That's Sharon Moriwaki of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. And every Wednesday we have Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy. We've been doing it for some time now, and we have some fantastic guests on there, unbelievable guests who give us insight into what is going on in a very complex, sometimes very confusing, sometimes very disappointing area of progress in the state. So we love doing this. We love meeting them. We love talking to them. We love having their ideas out on the table. So maybe, just maybe, we can all make some sense of what's going on. Sharon, what do you think?
I think that's absolutely correct. We enjoy ourselves meeting with all these people and hearing about the energy and the state of clean energy, and hopefully we advance clean energy for the state. So it's terrific. Join us.
Okay, it's every Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday is Energy Day. Every Wednesday, 4 to 5 p.m. Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, here on ThinkTech Hawaii.
Energy
see.
Okay.
Welcome back, and this is The Art of Life. I'm your host, Willow Chang Alion. We are on every Friday, live from 2 to 3 p.m. However, if you are not watching us on ThinkTechHawaii.com, you can check us out archivally on YouTube and also on the can I speak English? The Art of Life webpage on Facebook. That's The Art of Life with Willow Chang. I was so excited there, I just couldn't even get it out in the right sequence. We have Darlene Mandel in the house, and we are discussing the art of vintage and repurposing and all that good stuff. And you brought some goodies with us, and I want to make sure we have a chance to for our folks to see this. So why don't you talk us through some of these wonderful things?
Well, the first thing I brought for show and tell is these new things that I had in my head for over a year, the design, and I'm not sure if it's showing up so well, but basically what it is, it's an iPad sleeve for your iPad. It goes right in here, no zippers or anything. It's made from recycled yoga mats, and I just find jewels and embroidery thread and sew everything on the yoga mat. And so this is something that's very practical and recyclable and all used material, and looks pretty and very useful. So
and
I brought that for everybody to see.
Me gusta. You saw it first here on The Art of Life. It's Darlene Mandel. Don't you forget that. Alrighty. You also have, I think, very apropos in this season of Lent.
Season of Lent, and please everybody, you know, I know that, let's see, this is the Blessed Mother, but it's more cool and hip than religious. And even though I was born on her day, August 15th, and my mother always, you know, said she was on my back, this is an old Victorian art of where you cut the face out and cut the hands out and then dress her with real lace and real velvet and fabric But in modern times, I can use, you know, glue, say, and actually I use a lot of hot glue. But in the old days, they sewed everything on because there was no glue. So they would take a needle and thread, and they would start with the background and use all their lace and old pieces. So these have been very popular.
I love her. I love her. She's three-dimensional. You can use this to decorate your house or create your own altar. Now, I think some people,
altar pieces.
Yeah, some people might say, "Oh my goodness, this is kitsch." But you know what? This is the type of thing you would see in Little Italy, and even in the Hindu tradition when they dress the figurines of Krishna and whatnot. There's many traditions that do this, and I love this. It's just so pretty.
I love it too because it's so pretty, and it's actually they're so fun to make, and everyone turns out different, and it's something new instead of jewelry all the time. Jewelry.
So people can see.
Go ahead, Leah.
This.
Willow.
Right?
You know, I thought I would do some two-dimensional art since I do know how to paint and draw and
I want
do
people
things.
to see this side
Here's
by
the
side.
other one.
Because
Okay,
this
here's
is
the pink one.
really, it's not only the beauty of vintage, but this is clearly, I think, your hallmark, Darlene, is that you work with variations on a theme, but I've never seen you do the same thing twice.
Never.
Ever. So
Hardly,
each of these are unique. Like, okay, you have a butterfly motif and you have the lace, but each and every one of them are unique and special. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Willow. I
love
appreciate
it.
that. Thank you.
Now, I've also seen that you've gone through phases just like anybody else, and I have this theory that unless you want to paint your dolphin every day for the next 25 years, a lot of artists, regardless of what type of medium they're working in, whether they're actors or, everyone, I was asking Matthew McConaughey, well, how did you decide to stop doing
You met Matthew McConaughey?
I wish. I heard Terry Gross interview him on Fresh Air, but they asked him, and every article recently has mentioned this. He was doing the romantic comedy, and then he made a switch and a foray into serious things. And he just said, I decided to say no to romantic comedies, and I just wanted to see what would come to me. And that I thought was very meaningful because artists do like to do different things. If you look at the Beatles or Led Zeppelin or Darlene Mandel, there's this array of different things that you go through. So I've seen it in your jewelry, but talk us through, or maybe this would be a good time to segue into some pictures. So our first one is not Darlene, but I was thinking about this today, and right before I left the house, Ian was probably thinking, why is she sending me this picture of Pretty in Pink? Because I thought of the relationship that Annie Potts, her character, with Molly Ringwald's character in Pretty in Pink, and she was so hip, and she had great advice, and she was so stylish, she had elan, and I thought, oh my gosh, Darlene is like my Hawaiian version of Annie Potts in Pretty in Pink. So let's see that picture there. Right, and she's sitting on her couch and she's rocking her beehive in her fuzzy slippers.
Yay.
But throughout the film, you also see her wearing different things as well. So now moving right along to Darlene things. Oh my God, tell us about this.
Well, that's a belt.
Drooling.
Yeah, it's a belt, and it's old parts and pieces just put together, riveted or wired or jump ring together. So. And it's adjustable, so it'll fit most people.
It has a great Edwardian kind of Dalton Abbey or Mata Hari kind of feel. I love it.
It's actually pretty wild belt. So I made it to where you could wear it with a dress, a very plain black dress, say, for example, or you could wear it with a pair of jeans. It will fit through the belt buckles except for the front, and of course there's not belt loops, not belt buckles. Anyway, so that's a story on that belt.
Then we have another fabulous lady, a lady who is moreno. She is tan and brown, and she's strumming a small string instrument. Tell us about her.
Well, I decided to do more two-dimensional pieces for the shows because not everybody wants jewelry. They want more decorative art, and usually something Hawaiian sells quite well, I must admit.
Who would have thought?
How does that happen? So the collage work are bits and pieces of old paintings with flowers from old books on roses, with backgrounds from Hawaii scene books. They're all cut out and pasted together to make a whole new picture.
Exactly. Assemblage for all of our art people out there.
Right.
It also reminds me a lot of decoupage, maybe not without the varnish or the lacquer, but I'll tell you something that's really fascinating, and I think I was talking about this with Andy Lee on one of her earlier shows. Check that out, Andy Lee. I saw a fantastic show in Zurich, and it was with, brain don't fail me now right now. Of course, I'm having a brain fart. But anyway, regardless, at the 20th century, when we had a lot of the forays into modern art, assemblage was, Max Ernst, hello, it just came to me, very, very accepted means of art. I think people maybe poo-poo it and they think like, oh, well, this is what you do when you're, you're 10 and you cut out pictures from a magazine, you glue it in, and then you evolve into something else. No. Assemblage, collage, decoupage, all of these things are very, very skilled, and I find very relaxing, and it's fun. You still, just like the thrill of the hunt, you have to bring all of these elements together and edit it and go through your creative filter to determine what the final piece will be. So, yay, Darlene Mandel!
Again, I hear, voices calling me. Here we go, the craziness of the art. This flower wants to go with this flower, or, you can move them around a little bit, and all of a sudden it finds its right place on the canvas. It clicks.
It's like music. I mean, there's like a false note, and then there's harmonious, and you have to kind of play around with it to see where it works.
And that is your gift as an artist, being able to recognize the right moment when it works.
And knowing when to stop, which is really hard.
Yeah, that's
I think knowing when to stop is almost harder than knowing when to start.
That's so very true. It's very true.
What she said.
Yeah, you can overdo stuff a lot,
Yeah.
Hello, I'm the queen of overdo. I love fancy. I love lots of stuff.
But it's wonderful, because our next picture is a great way it segues into that idea of just like the vibrancy of life. Look at you standing here with Kali and Shiva. Woo! And you're in your color. And I thought about it, and I thought, this is completely, to me, it sums up what you're about. There's creation, there's destruction, there's ferocity in what you do, there's color, there's vibrancy. That's something I love. Right now you're rocking the earth tones, I don't know, Call of the Wild, but when I think of your work, I always think of color.
Oh, thanks.
And last week with Dr. RuPaul, and we were talking about her designs with Maya, I was saying like, I love black. I would be inclined to wear this tablecloth if I could. But it's so joyous and important to infuse color. And I feel like that you've helped me a lot. When I go and I get like a fuzzy little hat that's pink, or, a cheongsam that's yellow with different embroidered flowers or what have you, it helps me bring color back into my life. Tell us about that picture of you in this magical place. I think I know where this is, but the artwork's
I do know where it is. It's a very secret place.
It's a secret
first
place,
of all.
So we won't say where it is, but it is in Hawaii.
It is in Hawaii. In fact, it's on one of the very major thoroughfares, but nobody can see it. Props to Alex Baird, who painted the Shiva and Kali.
I remember it when it was plain, but I love this. It brings vibrancy.
Yes, it's a really amazing place. I love to go there in the daytime just to actually look at the color and look at the paintings. I mean, people would never know this place existed. I'm not going to tell anybody where it is. And
that has some secrets.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Willow. But but
I was there before it was painted, so that's why I was like, whoa.
Actually, they do a lot of photo shoots there. Yeah. It's kind of a haunting, daunting old ruin. But they've made it this beautiful Shiva temple now, and that's me standing in the doorway. So,
I love it. I love it.
And the mother of the artist took that picture.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, moving right along.
Yes.
I'm a fan of these. I saw these last month at the Collectible Show, and I just said, woman, this is phenomenal.
Thank
Tell
you.
us what it is.
Well, I call these my beach glass cameos, and what they are they're pieces of beach glass, and most of them have been collected in front of the palace in Kona. And for years, you know, there's that beautiful little walkway, and there's the wall that goes in front of the palace and the Kona Inn. And for years and years and years, the Kona Inn and the palace threw all their broken glass in the water, all their pottery, all their great stuff. And it never went out to sea. It stayed tumbled in those rocks for years. And so all the glass is from in front of the palace. There's a lot of purple glass that is the old crystal. There's a lot of floats from Japan. So the glass itself is the natural shape. Right. And then I laminate old vintage prints of women from old books onto the back. And so I have to be real specific with the sea glass that you're able to see through it and see the image. So 1 out of maybe every 20 pieces of sea glass will actually work to make a necklace. But that's what they are. I call them my sea glass cameos. They're one of a kind. And
she can also be commissioned if you have an image.
An image, I can put it on. I just, my friend Gwen Olens in Kona just sent me a beautiful bag of fresh beach glass. So
I'm telling you.
I'm ready.
Darlene, I know the year is young and it's only March, but when I saw that, I thought this has got to be one of the greatest things I've seen for 2014. Your beach glass cameos are just they're just ingenious. They bridge something that's old world with something that's from the Aina. You know, the idea of the ocean. You know, the undulation of the ocean, the artistry, the imaging. But it's understated. It's all of those good things.
Thank you.
Love it. Okay, our next picture is an image of some of the work you show us a little earlier today.
Right, that's one of my Madonnas, and actually I'm so hooked on my iPad. I just love all the photo apps in it, the different apps that you can tweak your different photos and make a piece of art into a new piece of art, you know. And so that's one of the pieces that I did with my filters. And
I've been thinking that you might have to make the iPhone covers, because you can put your own images on the back.
I can.
You heard it here, Art of Life. We'll have you back on when you bring something new.
Alrighty.
This image that you sent me, you have to understand, you think, oh, you've seen these, you know in advance. I just saw this morning, and I love this. I love this. She's like a little hula dancer with some wings. It's so cute.
I actually have not put these out there very much, except at the shows, because in this day and age, people, you know, don't respect other people's artwork, and you put them online and they copy them.
Yeah.
And so
Urban Outfitters were onto you. We know you're notorious for doing that.
Yeah. So this was one of my collages that I've just kind of kept privately offline, and they're available at the shows that I do. But it's another collage. It's a hula girl turned into a fairy in an enchanted garden with giant tulips.
I love it.
And they're fun. They're just fun.
What's not to like?
Yeah, thank
now,
you.
our next item, I see your caption there, but for those viewers who can't see it.
That's the wrong one. I sent you the wrong photo.
Oops.
Anyway, oops.
We'll see it anyway. It's a frame.
It
now,
is a frame,
with this frame, you have the option to put your own image in the center there?
You do. You can put any image in the center of any of my frames. In fact, they look better to sell with pictures in them, but the majority of the people that own my picture frames, and a lot of people own a collection of my picture frames, they usually put their grandmother's or their newborn grandson or something, some family picture in them.
Fantastic. Now, we, again, have to take a short break, but when you come back, we're going to find out where you can find Darlene Mandel, because this woman is everywhere. So if you haven't found her, you will know where to go. Stay tuned to The Art of Life.
You there. I'm Jay Fidel. That's Sharon Moriwaki of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. And every Wednesday we have Hawaii, the state of clean energy. We've been doing it for some time now, and we have some fantastic guests on there, unbelievable guests who give us insight into what is going on in a very complex, sometimes very confusing, sometimes very disappointing area of progress in the state. So we love doing this. We love meeting them. We love talking to them. We love having their ideas out on the table. So maybe, just maybe, we can all make some sense of what's going on. Sharon, what do you think?
I think that's absolutely correct. We enjoy ourselves meeting with all these people and hearing about the energy and the state of clean energy, and hopefully we advance clean energy for the state. So it's terrific. Join us.
Okay, it's every Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday is Energy Day. Every Wednesday, 4 to 5 p.m. Hawaii, the state of clean energy, here on ThinkTech Hawaii. We'll see you.
We're back on The Art of Life. I'm your host, Willow Chang Alion. Please stay tuned. You gotta come and check out our shows. We've got some great guests. Not only do we have Darlene Mandel, we've got a few more people in the fashion intelligentsia that I have lined up. I'm not gonna say who, that's your job to check it out. However, if you are curious, about 2 days before Friday, that will be on a Wednesday or a Thursday, I do post this information up on the Art of Life page on Facebook. So if you want a little teaser to see who the guest is, you can check it out there. Our guest is Darlene Mandel. She is an artist. She is a bon vivant. She is a vintage clothing lover. And I have to confess that this beautiful antique piano shawl, I regret that you only see us from the waist up. I know some of our guests like that because they don't want to be seen from the waist down, but I put together a whole ensemble and you can't see the rest of it because I'm sitting at a table. But this beautiful piano shawl I acquired. I am giving it the loving home, and I got it about 3 weeks ago at Darlene's booth. I saw it and it stopped me dead in my tracks. I think, what was it, on Wailea Avenue. So at the collectible show they give the names of the aisles different street names, like Old Polly Road and Wailea. So I was like 2 aisles away and I saw it, and it sang its siren song and it said, take me home, take me home. I even went into my little secret stash of cash to give it a home. And tell me about the provenance of this, because it's interesting stuff.
It is interesting stuff. You know, I actually buy every piano shawl that I can find, and it's a rare find when I find the really amazing ones. You find really good ones, but the really amazing ones are so hard to find. The amazing ones connotates condition, no rips in the silk.
No holes, no moths, no smells.
The amount of knots that it takes in the fringe, things like that. What you got is an exceptional one, and it actually belonged to the president of the Bank of Hawaii's wife. Their last name was Brooks, in case anybody out there knows. But that's a provenance on that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's very formal. It's black and white, and usually you find them very colorful. In my entire 40-year career, I've never seen one in black and white. And Willow got it.
I did. And so for those of you, there's always a story with the imagery here. You can only see part of it here, but this is a butterfly and the hu dip that's considered good luck, an auspicious sign for the Chinese. These are known as piano shawls because there was a style where people would drape the shawl on the piano.
On their grand pianos in their parlor.
Exactly.
And then they would put all their ornate silver frames of their families and their ancestors on top of the piano shawl.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's also known as a Spanish shawl because you see this type of shawl worn in Sevilla and in Spain with the flamenco dancers.
Yes.
But the origins of the Spanish shawl and the piano shawl are actually Chinese. So that's something I think it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
And all that embroidery work.
Oh,
so,
yes.
what's not to like?
I know, it's so beautiful.
It is.
So beautiful.
I'll have to say this, Darlene, because you're really good about the quality of the vintage items that you bring in. So what denotes quality to me? I would say the absence of stench. and you know what? There was a time and place when almost everybody, I think, smoked cigarettes. And if you didn't smoke cigarettes, you were generally in a home or an environment where cigarettes were being smoked.
Yes.
And it's so challenging to find items that basically don't smell.
Yeah.
How do you get around that? It's amazing.
Oh, it's really hard. You know, a lot of things are still in good enough shape that you can actually launder them. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of the old cottons, a lot of the blouses and the dresses are still really good. And so if that's the case, then I do that. I usually don't buy anything that actually smells.
Yeah.
I myself can't handle it. Living in the backwoods of Waimanalo, there's a lot of mold and mildew itself. And so to buy something that's already, you know, and it's tough here because not only fabric, but paper is very hard to keep.
Very, very hard.
Very hard to keep. And so right now I'm at the point in my life where after 30 years, I have so much beautiful stuff that I've kept that now I think I might have to pass it on to the next keeper because I want it to remain pristine. And, you know, it's a very important part of being the keeper of the goods, is also keeping them in great shape. And that also always isn't that easy to do. So you have to know when to let go.
The second life. So let's say you have a dress, and I've done this before. I call it fashion Frankensteining. But I always have this internal dialogue with me and my 10 personalities, like, am I challenging or compromising the integrity of this dress if I cut it apart or if I turn it into a pillow sham or whatever? I mean, not everything that is made is going to be in the Smithsonian. I understand that. I'm not delusional. But do you have this kind of like, you know, rule? Internal discussion or a rule? Like, what's your guideline when something gets repurposed and fashion Frankenstein or when something remains intact?
Well, if it has a designer label, or it has a good old label, it stays intact no matter how tattered it is.
Oh, like Cassini.
Yeah, or, you know, the old designers from the 60s, like some of the early Betsy Johnsons, for example.
Yeah, or early Pucci.
Yeah, the early Puccis from the 60s, all the paisley and psychedelic stuff, which at one point I found a couture Emilio Pucci signed couture runway skirt at Savers for $3.99 one year. So, you know, if it has a designer label, it stays no matter what. Usually, if it's to be refurbished, I can actually picture the finished piece in my head.
Yeah.
You know, I can see what it's going to be. I can see the path that I have to take to make it. Or I can see if it wants to be combined with something else. It lets me know. My mind lets me know. And that's the gift of being an artist.
Absolutely.
Knowing how to put things together.
I'll tell you, back in the Stone Ages, and this was really the Stone Ages, I worked at Bergdorf Goodman. I don't know if you knew this. I was just this little young thing from Honolulu working at Bergdorf Goodman. And for those viewers who are unaware, it's a very exclusive, and I'm going to just say the word expensive, dress shop, palace of couture and exclusive things and what have you. And I remember we were given a pep talk by our manager, and they said, if someone is buying a Giorgio Armani dress and they want to take it to alterations and remove a sleeve and shorten the hem and nip in the waist when it's supposed to be a sack dress, you have to gently try to encourage them not to, because you want to keep the integrity of the clothing. And I remember my 19-year-old brain was just fried at this concept. I'd never thought of it that way, but it was really interesting. Now, you've got a busy weekend coming up. Let's let our viewers out there know, where can they check out your wares?
Well, this weekend I will be at the Hawaii Convention Center up on the 3rd floor.
This is for the Honolulu Festival.
Yes, for the Honolulu Festival, which gets bigger and better every year.
It does. It's celebrating 20 years.
Yeah, and we're up on the 3rd floor. I'm with an organization, art group called Art and Flea. And so not only will I have my handmade jewelry there, but I'm also able to have vintage things there. So that'll be really really fun. That goes Saturday from 10 till 6, and then Sunday from 10 till 3, up on the 3rd floor.
And Art and Flea is a pretty regularly happening event. What is it, once a month? Okay.
And recently we've been having twice a month events in different places.
Even going out to Mililani, the all-American town.
Thank you, Mililani. You guys rock out there. We had an excellent turnout, and we're coming back.
And then you're always at the Wiki One Day sales and the collectible show.
Wiki One Day coming up next Sunday, March 16th, which is one of the best vintage shows. It's a one-day. That's why they call it Wiki, quick, in and out. Get in there, buy your stuff, sell your stuff, and get out. Have a great day. And that show is always amazing, thanks to Wayne and Eileen Productions.
Absolutely. Now, if people want to have, let's say they want to come to your house or they want to have a Darlene trunk show, is that a possibility as well?
Yes, they can just email me at Gmail, darlenemandel@gmail.com.
Fantastic.
One L in Mandel.
One L in Mandel, and she's also on Facebook. So if you wanna friend Darlene or you wanna chat her up, this is how you can find her. It's so much easier than doing the website thing.
Yes, and I have wonderful pop-up shops on my Facebook pages, so you can actually go in there, look, see something you like, and contact me to see if I still have it, or to proceed to purchase it.
Okay, I'm going to give you a top three. Top three things if you see you just can't pass by. We know one of them are piano shawls.
Piano shawls. Oh my goodness, Willow. I think number 2 would be anything glitzy and shiny and colorful. Sparkle. Sparkle's a big one for me. That's number 2. And number 3.
I was going to say leopard because we're both Call of the Wild.
Well, leopard is my favorite color.
Color me leopard.
Yeah, color me leopard. Leopard's my favorite color. But I would have to think, golly, it's such a difficult. It changes, It used to be lace, and now I have a real affinity with fur, which is hard for Hawaii and hard for the politically correct people, but I really love the old furs, and very rare and difficult to get them here.
Yeah.
I would get those, and then I would have to say any kind of old Chinese furniture.
Alrighty, so now you know.
That's
If you have
it.
any of those things, contact Darlene. We're running out of time, but Darlene, it's been a guest. We'll have you
Willow.
again.
My
We
dear
are the Art
Willow.
of Life. We're keeping it Pono, and we hope you come back next Friday, 2
Yes.
o'clock.
Aloha.